Before Rome became the greatest empire in history, it was once a small and struggling community beside the Tiber River. But the real secret behind Rome's rise was not only its soldiers or its wars. It was the powerful society and deep religious beliefs that shaped every Romanist life. Imagine a world where family loyalty was stronger than law, where social class decided your future from birth, and where the gods were believed to control every harvest, every victory, and every disaster. Early Romans lived in a strict system of traditions, duties, and sacred rituals. Religion was not something they practiced only in temples. It was present in their homes, in their daily routines, and even on the battlefield. In this video, we will travel back to the early days of Rome to explore how Roman society was organized, how families lived under the authority of the father, and how religious customs created unity and discipline. Understanding these foundations helps us see why Rome did not just become powerful by force, but by building a civilization based on order, belief, and tradition. Early Roman society was divided into clear social classes, and this division shaped daily life from the very beginning. The most powerful group was the Patricians, the noble families who controlled politics, land, and religious leadership. They were considered the original founders of Rome and believed they had a special right to rule. Below them were the Plebeians, the common people who made up most of the population. Plebeians were farmers, craftsmen, traders, and laborers. Although they worked hard and supported Rome's economy, they had fewer rights. In the early period and often struggled for political representation. Another important part of society was slavery. Slaves were usually prisoners of war or people in debt, and they performed household work, farming, and construction. This strict hierarchy created tension but also brought structure. Romans believed everyone had a place in society, and this order helped Rome stay organized as it grew from a small village into a rising power. Family life was the heart of Roman civilization, and the Roman household was more than just parents and children. It included extended relatives, servants, and slaves living under one roof. The most important figure in the family was the paterfamilias, or the father of the household. He held absolute authority over family decisions, property, marriages, and even religious rituals performed at home. Roman society valued discipline, loyalty, and duty, and these values were first taught within the family. Children were raised to respect elders and serve Rome with honor. Women in early Rome had limited political power, but they played an essential role in managing the household and raising future citizens. Mothers were respected for their influence inside the home. Marriage was seen as a duty, not just personal love, because it strengthened family alliances. This strong family structure created unity and stability, forming the foundation of Roman identity and tradition. Daily life in early Rome was simple compared to the grand empire Rome would later become. Most Romans lived in small houses made of wood, clay, or stone, and the city itself was still developing from villages into a more organized urban center. Farming was the main occupation, with families growing wheat, olives, and grapes. Markets began forming in the forum, where people traded goods, livestock, and handmade products. Craftsmen produced pottery, tools, and weapons, supporting local needs. Life was hard, and survival depended on community cooperation. Romans valued hard work and self-discipline, believing that personal sacrifice was necessary for the success of the city. Public life was important, and citizens gathered for meetings, festivals, and religious ceremonies. Even in these early days, Romans were developing a strong sense of duty toward their homeland. This simple lifestyle, built on agriculture and community, prepared Rome for future growth and expansion. Religion in early Rome was not a private matter but a central part of everyday life. Romans believed the gods controlled everything: the weather, harvests, health, and success in war. They saw the world as filled with divine forces that required respect and worship. Unlike modern religions focused mainly on faith, Roman religion focused on rituals and correct practices. Romans believed that if they honored the gods properly, Rome would prosper. Temples were important, but worship also happened at home and in public spaces. Every major decision, from planting crops to starting a battle, involved prayers and sacrifices. Religion helped Romans explain the mysteries of life and gave them comfort in uncertain times. It also created unity, because all citizens shared common gods and rituals. This deep connection between society and religion became one of the strongest foundations of Roman civilization, shaping how Romans thought, lived, and governed their growing city. The Romans worshipped many gods, each responsible for different aspects of life. Jupiter was the king of the gods, and the protector of Rome, associated with thunder and justice. Mars, the god of war, was especially important because Rome's strength depended on military power. Venus represented love and beauty, but also the legendary ancestry of the Roman people. Vesta was the goddess of the hearth and home, symbolizing family unity and domestic life. Romans also honored Janus, the god of beginnings and transitions, often prayed to at the start of new ventures. These gods were not distant figures but active forces believed to influence daily events. Romans built temples, offered sacrifices, and celebrated festivals in their honor. Myths and stories about the gods helped Romans understand their world and connect their society to divine purpose. Worshipping these gods gave Romans confidence that their city was destined for greatness and protected by powerful supernatural forces. Religion was deeply personal inside Roman homes through the worship of household spirit. Every family honored the Lares, protective spirits of ancestors who watched over the household. The Penates were gods of the pantry and food supply, ensuring the family's survival and prosperity. Romans believed these spirits lived within the home and required daily offerings such as food, wine, or incense. Small household shrines were common, and family rituals were led by the paterfamilias. This home-based worship strengthened family bonds and connected everyday life with sacred duty. Religion was not only practiced in grand temples but also in kitchens, doorways, and family gatherings. These rituals reminded Romans that divine forces were always present. By honoring their ancestors and household gods, Romans reinforced respect for tradition, family loyalty, and continuity between generations. This spiritual connection inside the home helped create a society where religion and daily life were inseparable. Priests and religious officials held great influence in early Rome. Religion and politics were closely connected, and priests often came from noble patrician families. The Pontifex Maximus was one of the highest religious leaders, responsible for overseeing rituals and maintaining sacred law. Augurs were priests who interpreted signs from the gods, such as the flight of birds, to guide important decisions. Before battles or political actions, leaders sought divine approval through these priests. Public rituals included animal sacrifices, prayers, and grand festivals. Romans believed that performing rituals correctly was essential to keeping the gods pleased. Mistakes in ceremonies were seen as dangerous, possibly bringing disaster upon Rome. Religious festivals also united the community, allowing citizens to celebrate together and honor their shared gods. Through priests and rituals, religion became a powerful tool for maintaining social order, discipline, and loyalty to the Roman state. Religion ultimately strengthened Rome's unity and discipline, helping transform it into a powerful civilization. Shared beliefs created a sense of identity among Romans, connecting rich and poor through common rituals and festivals. Religion also justified Rome's wars and expansion, as victories were seen as signs of divine favor. The Romans believed their success came from respecting the gods and maintaining tradition. This belief encouraged discipline, duty, and obedience within society. Social hierarchy, strong families, and religious devotion worked together to keep Rome stable during its early growth. Even as Rome faced conflicts and challenges, its traditions held people together. Understanding early Roman society and religion shows us that Rome's greatness was not built only by armies, but also by values, structure, and faith. These foundations prepared Rome to expand beyond Italy and eventually become one of the most influential empires in history. As we look back at the early days of Rome, it becomes clear that the city's greatness was built not just on armies or conquests, but on the strength of its people, their families, and their faith. The social structure, with its patricians, plebeians, and even slaves, created order and defined each person's role in society. While the family remained the heart of Roman life under the authority of the paterfamilias, daily routines, work, and community gatherings reflected the values of discipline, loyalty, and duty that Romans held sacred. Religion wove through every aspect of life, from household shrines to grand temples, connecting the people to their gods and ancestors and giving them a shared sense of purpose and identity. Rituals, festivals, and prayers were not just spiritual acts. They reinforced unity, guided decision, and strengthened the society that would later expand to dominate the Mediterranean. By understanding how early Romans lived, worshipped, and structured their society, we see the foundations of a civilization that could endure for centuries. These lessons remind us that Rome's power came from more than its conquests. It was the people, their traditions, and their unwavering faith that truly shaped an empire.